Hello.
Good evening, good evening.
Wow.
Thank you for being here.
Impressive.
Thank you. So I'm Alicia Combaz, and this is Axel Docher. We are the founders of Make.org, and we are absolutely thrilled to welcome you tonight in the AI Action Summit welcoming event. Tonight, we will address one subject, AI's impact on our democracies. But before I get started, I can't help but draw a parallel between our host venue, La Maison de la Chimie, the chemistry house, and our subject, AI. The connection between chemistry and AI is striking. Think about it. Chemistry, a revolution that reshaped our world in the late 18th century, impacting everything from medicine to agriculture. And now we have AI, poised to transform society in equally profound ways. Revolutions don't happen overnight. But like the breakthroughs in chemistry, they are pivotal moments that define the future. And we strongly believe that this summit, this gathering, in this place, right here, right now with you, feels like one of those moments. Axel will tell you about what's in store for tonight, for tomorrow, even for the coming weeks and even years regarding AI and democracy. But before that, I want to share why Make.org, a European, neutral, and independent organization, launched this whole thing. We are not exactly show organizer. We are not in the entertainment business. So tonight, it feels like we have filled l'Olympia for those familiar with Paris' iconic spots. But for 8 years, our core mission with the team at Make.org has been to empower organizations, companies, foundations, public institutions, researchers, NGOs, to engage citizens, employees, and stakeholders in tackling society's most pressing challenges. So we leverage the latest technologies, from algorithm and AI to generative AI, to make collaboration, action, impact happen. We have worked with over 45 institutions, including the French and German governments, as well as more than 70 major corporations and hundreds of NGOs. And many of you are here tonight, and I want to thank you so much for your invaluable support. And that's why at Make.org we are deeply invested in understanding what happens where AI and democracy meet. We have seen the power of these tools firsthand, and we recognize the critical importance of understanding their impact on democracy. So, in summary, we are practitioners and proactive actors of AI. We are practitioners and proactive actors in democracy. And frankly, AI's impact on our democracies is not just another topic. It's the most pressing topic of our time.
Thank you, Alicia. Democracy is a word which is used many times, and sometimes it values a bit to define it. Of course, it's an advanced way of building collective decision in a peaceful way. But for us, it's something a bit more. It's also an art of living together. And that's why we are so much engaged in it. And to be very clear, democracy is not a political choice. Democracy is a governance system which allows any political choice. And that's why we can, all of us, work together in that direction. So what's the link between AI and democracy? The first thing to say is something you absolutely all know. AI is a huge danger for democracy. We know that our democracies are struggling in the past years, and specifically with the new socio-political context we are in. And in that context, AI is amplifying the risk, amplifying misinformation, manipulation, and even more than that, it's also building and contributing some bias that in the long run could radically change the opinion of people. So what is at stake in the first way? It's the sustainable free will of humanity. So for these reasons, we need you in the room. You are researchers, NGOs, and innovators. We need you to take care of democracy for this reason. The same way, we can also say that AI is a fantastic opportunity for democracy. And I will just quote a few things, but just imagine that AI could give access to the complexity of the world to anyone. We are lost all in the complexity of the world, of the interdependency of the problems. AI can have that. AI can allow any citizens to maximize his contribution to the debate. But on top of it, thanks to AI and thanks to massive collaboration, you can even implement democratic processes where they are not. Let's take, for instance, the multilateralism. Would it be a good idea to input some collaboration, citizen collaboration, into the intergovernmental discussion? AI make it possible. Also in a conflict border between two states. Definitely, it's possible now to use AI. So, researchers and innovators, we need you to help protect and reinforce democracy. The other way around is much less said, is how much AI innovators and researchers needs democracy. Of course, first of all, democracy is the only way for research and innovation to be for the benefit of humanity, to the benefit of citizens, and not to benefit to economic or military interest. That's the only way. There is no other way. For researchers, for instance, can you imagine what means academic freedom, IP protection, without democracy? But more than anything, democracy is the only way to build a fair competition. Today, on AI innovation, there is no fair competition. So in any words, there is an urgent need for the AI innovators to get democracy to be strong and to be at the table of discussion. You know, we are all dealing with AGI. There will be maybe tomorrow an agreement between states, and very good, that's the first step, and we need to reinforce it. But it will not be able, through that system, to deal with the risk we are dealing with. The system is focused too much on 2 countries, on 10 tech companies. We need to build a system where it's open to any innovators everywhere in the world and to the benefit of citizens. So AI innovators and researchers need democracy. That's why it's time now to make a deal between AI and democracy, and this is why you are here tonight. During 1 hour, we'll review all the elements of that pact, all the consequence of that pact. At the end, we'll be very happy to tell you a bit more about how we can all move together in that direction.
Thank you, Axel. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's now my pleasure to welcome on stage the journalist Louise Eklund that will animate the first panel session. Louise, the stage is yours.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful to see you all here tonight. A lot of people in this room together. My name is Louise Eklund. I'm a journalist, absolutely thrilled to animate this crucial discussion on a topic that's very important in our times, AI and democracy. Tonight we are very privileged to bring together diverse and distinguished voices from different sectors representing research, businesses, and of course major corporations. The people that are going to be coming on stage in a couple of minutes are exceptional experts in their domain. And together we will discover how democratic systems can adapt, innovate, and ensure that AI serves as a force for inclusion, transparency, and progress. So let's, without further ado, begin this critical conversation. Please welcome me. Please welcome them. Thank you very much. Frédéric Worms, Pierre-Étienne Bardin, and Axel de Coursac. Gentlemen, wonderful to have you with me on stage this evening in front of this great audience. Frédéric Worms, you are the director of École, normale, supérieure, and you have been since March 2022, if I understand correctly. Take your microphones, don't hesitate. Pierre-Étienne Bardin, you are the Chief Data Officer of Groupe La Poste. You have led La Poste's data and AI strategy since 2018. Welcome. And Axel de Gorsac, you are Partner AI Lead KPMG France. You oversee all the firm's activities related to AI to scale trust and high-value AI solutions. Thanks so much to all of you for being with us this evening. We have a bit of time together, not too long, so I'm going to ask you to be quite sharp on your answers this evening, of course. I'm sure this discussion is going to be really beneficial for everybody in the room. I'm going to start with you, Frédéric, from a research, of course, point of view. ENS, just to be really clear, is one of the most active centres for fundamental research in AI. From a philosophical and ethical standpoint, first of all, what do you see as the greatest risks AI poses to democracy?
Well, first let me thank you, and thanks the organizers for having invited me to join this event, crucial event in a crucial moment, in a crucial summit. It's really an honor and a responsibility to speak on behalf of the École normale supérieure as a whole, with all its interdisciplinarity in such a place and moment. So I'm very happy and conscious of the responsibility. To me, the way AI can shatter democracy and answer its own self-produced risk, or the way it aggravates an existing risk, is all about trust. Democracy, as it has been said earlier by Axel, and I want to thank Make.org for the organization. Democracy is a way to conciliate the diverse points of view, to bring together people without war, to face human problems. But it needs trust. It needs trust in a frame, a common frame, institutions. It needs trust in a content. What is said has to be verified, and it needs trust in its usefulness. And I think AI, in a first step, in a first appreciation, can shatter all that, just because it seems to be more powerful than any institutional frame. It seems to be aggravating or sort of distrust with common truth, with verifiability. And it seems to be more dangerous than useful, and people can be very afraid of all that for good reasons. So I think what we have to do is build a reliable AI, first with institutions, of course. So I think a first step will be, and maybe the summit will state that, I don't know, but some institution, some common frame, global frame, however minimal. I don't believe in a world government, but I believe in minimal, like, you know, the conference on climate 10 years ago in Paris, it set some minimal frames, and we need a minimal frame, but reliable. Then we need content. And to me, the word truth has become a little bit too controversial, weirdly, because truth exists and must be defended, and I have the honor of directing a scientific institution. But I think more than truth, artificial intelligence is based on accuracy. It can solve accurate problems with accurate devices. And what we need to avoid madness is accuracy, truth and accuracy. And there we need all the sciences. And then I end up with usefulness. I think we have to face through AI, identify dangers, not only not creating new dangers, but face accurate, precise, verified, established dangers in health, in climate, in disinformation, in war. And I think that's possible. So I think really we have to be afraid, because it can aggravate distrust. But I think we can build trust in a reliable AI, a positive AI, an interdisciplinary AI, an AI with a minimum of institutions, but it's not the only solution. It's trust with the citizens participating, knowing what is going on. So to me, the challenge is about trust.
Okay, so the challenge is about trust, and we are sowing the seeds of this challenge this evening all together, of course.
Through the mutual discussion, of course.
Yes. Axel de Goursac, what worries you maybe the most about AI's impact on democracy? Is there anything keeping you up at night, is the question.
So first, hi everybody. Very happy to be here. So up the night. Personally, I feel really impressed by all the good news that we have seen the past few days regarding AI.
Right.
And so I prefer to look at the half full glass.
The glass is half full on your end, correct.
Me too. Me too.
Yes. And so we have seen that smaller models, especially those relying on open source ecosystem, can now compete with the largest ones, for example, of OpenAI. And that's a very good news for the diversity of LLMs, especially those developed in Europe, and for the plurality of opinions and culture expressed in AI. Then I can't keep quiet about the great news also we have seen on Mistral, so the investment part, but also the great performance of the latest release, and especially also the business partnerships that have been announced. So that Mistral is now a voice to hear in the concert of the AI race. And finally, in terms of democracy, between complete deregulation and a totally controlled AI, maybe there is a room for a third way, French and European way, with all this good news, with fair regulation to promote freedoms and trustworthy AI, but that doesn't prevent and obstruct innovation. So this is a subtle balance to find.
Yes, it is a very subtle balance to find, of course. Pierre-Etienne, you are a leader in a major corporation, of course. You have a front row seat, as we can say. How do you see AI affecting democratic processes?
So good evening, Louise. Thank you Make.org to give me the opportunity to represent La Poste. So for me, this is already it's a reality. We see an impact on the democratic process. There is already a strategy of influence. We've seen that with social networks already, but now it amplifies. It amplifies in two ways. The first is the power to create very high quality content. That's something which is new. You can have very meaningful text, pictures, images, videos, sounds, and this power to create very high quality content can be used in a positive or a negative way, and you can create false content and fake news. And the second reason why it amplifies is that all this power, it's easy and accessible. It's very easy, very cheap. So it means that everybody in this room, everybody in the world can create very easily fake news, so they can shatter and affect the democratic process. And we already seen that.
We are definitely seeing that now. Our discussion is quite short today, so I'm going to ask you to go into a little bit of detail concretely about the solutions that you're actually working on these days to safeguard democracy. Axel, what are you implementing actually at the moment?
So concretely, what we are already doing with our client, we propose AI implementation approach relying on our responsible AI framework by design. That promotes ethical values of the company and society. So, for example, transparency, fairness, sustainability, and so on. And also, what we observe on the market is that 73% of human resource directors, so this is from a study by KPMG, 73% think that AI can be an effective tool to measure the social climate at the level of company. But it can be also done at the level of society to bring more humanity and to hear more voices. And finally, what we anticipate, maybe we have to remind that the crucial role of data, which is at the heart of AI. And so data like public web data, massively used to train LLMs. But company data, also partner monetized data, and open data from public structures. And we will need to rethink the data ecosystem, so its accessibility and its protections with the lens of the challenges of this AI race.
Great. Pierre-Etienne, what are you working on currently? What's your current reflections?
So one example, we are working on many things, but one example, ProBias, our AI subsidiary, together with INRIA, we are working on a system to detect AI-generated content. So sorry, not with ENS, but with INRIA, one of your...
INRIA is present in the ENS, of course.
So we are working on that system because we consider it's part of our mission to inform our employees, our customers, the citizens about content which is generated or not by AI. It can mean somehow a veracity label, something like that. So that's one topic that we are working on, but it's a long journey because it's quite difficult to follow the path of these technologies.
You'll tell us more next time we see you, of course. Frédéric, you are really at the heart of academic research and debate, of course. And in a time when AI raises concerns about misinformation and democratic integrity, how do academic institutions reinforce trust? I mean, what are you currently working on?
Well, of course, I do believe that research, teaching and training, explaining, and going towards the citizens too is the solution, because trust has to be demonstrated in a way. It cannot be presupposed. So we need to have science on board, even sciences, again, to have the scientists explain what AI is, and the citizen will have to understand. Then interdisciplinarity, why doctors, lawmakers,
sure,
teachers are using AI and how and for what purpose. And we need to have the citizen participation. During the 2 days we are organizing of the summit, we are organizing at the ENS a student assembly, a participating assembly on democratic governance of AI, and it's a body of students. It's not a totally anybody's citizen, but...
they're not specialists of AI, are they?
There aren't necessarily. There are some. I recognize some AI students in the crowd today, but still, they are discussing the others' people opinions, and they are free to express whatever fear they have, whatever emotion. It's part of the citizen conventions on end of life or climate in France. And so we need citizen participation. And the last thing is we have to prove scientifically the power of democracy, how discussing makes life really better to avoid conflicts, but also to solve problems. In a hospital, of course, you need to have all the points of view to solve a discussion. So, and that can be scientifically demonstrated. So I do believe we need scientific institutions, but also political institutions. I just want to add one word. It's that, of course, anybody can create one fake news. But to have it believed by millions of people, you need a little bit more power. So it will not be the same. The spontaneous regulation between us contradicting one another, that's democracy. When someone cannot be contradicted, it has to be through a minimal common rule. And I think if we have a minimal common rule, we will start discussing with AI. It will be very interesting both for doctors and patients, lawmakers and advocates, and lawyers, and for us. Mm-hmm. If there is a if, but if there is this if, it's possible.
It's possible. Pierre-Etienne, Axel, how can businesses, governments and citizens, in short, in your opinion, all stakeholders, work together to ensure AI serves both the public interest and, of course, business? Pierre-Etienne.
So for me, if we go back to what democracy means power to people. Power to people, it can also mean education, and education is key. we have to train, and we have the responsibility. Everyone in this room has the responsibility to give knowledge to the people, because with this they will be able to understand the opportunity, but also the limit and the risk of AI. Regulation is necessary, but with the right knowledge and the right understanding, people will be able to be more aware of what to expect from AI, and this is something that we have to push, and this is very important. And as part of this transformation at La Poste, we already train 83,000 employees. They have their certificate in AI, and it starts with this. It's a small step, but with the right understanding, people will be more conscious about the risk.
Axel, from your point of view?
Yes. So in this AI transformation, our role at KPMG, this is to help our clients, so large groups and medium enterprise, to create value with AI and to train on its use. So you mentioned education. Yes. So and what you mentioned also the word work together.
That's right.
And so I think this there is an important dialogue, constructive and regular dialogue between associations, companies, and public structures to be done. And I think that our strong regional and national network, our proximity with all the structures at all levels, it makes us also a good actor also for this dialogue on AI, and also to diffuse all the messages. And lastly, we also say practice what you preach. So we also apply all the principles and support that we bring to our clients for us, to ourselves, so as client zero. And so we accelerate the training of our 8,000 collaborators in these various AI techniques. We dialogue with them about its effectiveness at the end for a better client service.
Okay, great. And École normale supérieure, what is your role in fostering collaboration here?
No, we do collaborate. We collaborate with other public institutions, and we collaborate with companies. I will take only one example that struck me. When we launched last week the Observatory on AI and Sustainability with Capgemini and all its clients. It's a major, of course, council institution in the world, Capgemini. And what struck me is that everybody has common fears, but we find also common goods. And for example, the companies in AI or using AI are using so much energy, so much electricity, that they become interested in climate suddenly. It's just because it's costly to use too much energy. It's not only because it's destroying the planet. I hope they think about that too.
So second motivation, right?
Well, but motivations converge. It's a sort of good secondary effect of AI, that AI brings us back to Earth, actually. It's not only a science fiction fantasy. It's really very concrete. And the moment people understand that AI needs truth, it needs scientific truth, and it needs accurate content, it needs a planet, it needs citizenship, and we can build a global citizenship. I'm not too optimistic, because I did believe that internet would not be controllable by tyrannies, by dictatures. I thought internet would be a support for free expression and discussion within frames, but not controllable by a tyranny. I think, unfortunately, it is. So I am not basically optimistic, but I do think that a little artificial intelligence is a danger, a lot in the hands of citizens and common good collaborators, both in companies and institutions, can bring us back to common interest. We do have common interests and common fears, and that's the key.
We're coming to the end of our conversation. We have 35 seconds left.
Sorry.
No, that's great. It's absolutely great, because I had 3 questions for each of you. Just to summarize, maybe in a phrase, something you want us to take away today, a last mission statement, an idea, something you'd like to share, Axel?
in one phrase. So let's build together a society that values human singularity and the voice of everyone, thanks to responsible and human-centered AI.
Fantastic. Pierre-Etienne?
I'm optimistic, and I hope that human beings will choose the bright side versus the dark side of AI.
Great. Frédéric, the last word.
Last word. Trust. Trust scientists, trust institutions, and trust citizens for the better.
Great. Thank you very much. Give them a round of applause. I'll let you head back to your seats. I'll let you head back. Please take your seats. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for being with us. Great. Wonderful conversation here. Thank you to all of you. We could debate all evening, and we will continue with a second debate now. And for this, I would like to invite Alexandre Kouchner to come on stage, please. Alexandre, give him a round of applause, please. Alexandre.
Thank you very much, Louise. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Democracies around the world are still coping. Oh, you want to come back? Oh, you're welcome. Democracies around the world are still coping with the effects of Web 2, and yet they now face another critical technological threshold. But let's be clear, shying away is not an option, because AI will very likely become a ubiquitous technology, and its most recent development and actors have dramatically lowered the cost of weaponizing information exchanges. But the worst outcome is not our only option. We could make LLMs compatible with democracy, and democracy itself could be the best framework to foster innovation in a fair playing field. So let's imagine for a second, what if, without ignoring the threats, we shifted the narrative and looked at AI as a tool to promote, defend, and even revitalize democracy? To pave this way forward, please welcome the recipient of the 2022 Sakharov Prize, the national leader and president-elect of Belarus, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, the president of the European Economic and Social Committee, the president of the European Economic and Social Committee, Olivier Robke, and Taiwan's first digital minister and digital ambassador, the author of Plurality of Collaborative, The Future of Collaborative Technology and Democracy, Audrey Tang. Mr. President. Ambassador, welcome. Thank you very much for being with us tonight and to try and tackle this critical moment where we are basically at the threshold for democracy and therefore humanity. It's been mentioned in the panels before. We know about misinformation, disinformation. We know about the radicalization of pre-existing divides within our societies. These are general threats, and we're all aware of it. But perhaps there's some other usage we should be aware of in order to better protect ourselves against them. So, President-elect Tikhanovskaya, does the dictatorship currently in power in Belarus use AI or digital tools in a very specific way, in a way that we have not heard before? What are you facing?
Oh, I think that you have heard a lot during your summit, but thank you for raising the issue not only AI and democracy, but also AI and dictatorship, because we all know that AI might be progress in good hands, but it might serve to oppression when it's in evil's hands. And of course, so as Belarus is on the front line in fight between democracy and dictatorship, both democratic forces of Belarus, but also dictatorship using AI instruments. And sometimes we think about dictators as old style, people who like old school people, but they also learning very fast. And of course, Belarus is now like a laboratory of repression. And of course, what the aim of dictators is to trace and repress political opponents and activists and free journalists, to suppress freedom of speech and all the possible freedoms. And how dictators, some just example how they use AI instruments is, for example, they use AI-based surveillance and facial recognition to detect people to identify people who participated, for example, in protests or who in underground movement, just to detain them, to put people in prisons. Also, they use data tracking instruments to monitor social networks or different social media to identify people who are commenting, who put likes, you know, and again, for what? For putting them in prison for their anti-regime or anti-war position. Also, one of the recent examples is how they use AI instrument to discredit their political opponents. They made deep fake on me, telling that I am leaving politics, that I am giving up fighting for our political prisoners, for my husband, for independence of Belarus. I'm leaving, you know, I'm tired. And it's a pity that so many people in Belarus don't know about this possibility of deep fakes, that many of them believed, and we have to record video that it's not truth, it's regime doing this. So just believe me, they can learn more and more. And so it's so important, you know, to give possibility to use good instruments for good people, because dictators really can make huge evil of all the progress you have.
So it's about choosing how you use it and who can use it.
Absolutely.
Another commonly discussed threat to democracy brought by AI, or that could be brought by AI, is the social unrest that could come if AI destroys a lot of jobs. And that is a broader concern within society at large. Indeed, as the primary users of AI, the business ecosystem is the main driver when it comes to rolling out this technology. But again, let's try and see the flip side. If Gen AI is used within companies as a case for a democratic usage, as a case for showing how all stakeholders can use it, how they can feel empowered, knowing what it's used for, then perhaps we can bridge some divides within society. I mean, after all, companies are nowadays a rare place to find common ground. President Robke, the ESC has published a number of opinions on this topic. What would be the right conditions to roll out generative AI in the workplace? And let's focus on one example because it's a very broad question. How can the human in control principle be effectively applied?
Yes, thank you very much. And please allow me 10 seconds to thank really Axel and Alicia. We worked with you together for a long time, and it's great what you have done today. And I think it's really complementing the AI Summit. And as you said, as president of the Economic and Social Committee, we are representing organized civil society and social partners. And what we see is that AI is not a new technology. This is really a societal transformation, which has a big impact on the world of labor, on industrial relations, more and more. And we adopted several opinions, not only now, for years already, pointing out that it is important to have trust and the human in control principle. I think this is key, because you discussed just before the question of polarization, of disinformation, mistrust. And I think if we want really to make use of artificial intelligence for everybody, then we need trust, human in control principle. And this means that we have to strengthen also social partners and social dialogue, which is a long-standing principle. But we have to adapt the instruments to make sure that they can also frame the right conditions for introducing artificial intelligence at the workplace. Because otherwise, if we don't have the accountability and the responsibility of social partners, of the enterprises and the workforce, I think then we risk really that this development will be a big disruption, and it is already a disruption. But I think we should make a difference to other parts in the world. When I look to the US, disruption, yes, but we should make sure that these technologies or this transformative force should be in full accordance with our democratic and European values. On the contrary, it should even strengthen these values. So we should adapt social dialogue, also workers' involvement. We have a lot of good principles and examples in many member states where collective bargaining partners can take over responsibility. I think this is important. And the second point, skills. We have really to reskill and upskill the employees, especially those who risk to be victims of this development, so more vulnerable groups, the youngsters, but also elderly people in the among the workforce, women. Here we have to make sure that especially they, we will emphasize that, and we will make sure that they will benefit from this upskilling and reskilling, and we very much support the European Commission and Roxana Minzato, the Vice President, to set up really a union of skills that makes sure that our workforce is well prepared for this development.
That is threat mitigation that we've just discussed. I want to switch to strengthening democracy. I want to switch to what happens when democracy actually uses AI. Ambassador Tang, as Taiwan's digital minister for 7 years, you were deeply involved in crafting what is now known as the Taiwanese model. What mechanisms were used to safeguard the 2024 presidential and legislative elections and lower the distrust level? What happens when democracy uses AI?
Thank you. For more than a decade now, according to VDEM, Taiwan has been top of the world when it comes to the info attacks, polarization attacks, narrative attacks. Again, with our citizens wanting more democracy, we're top of the Asia also on the internet freedom, according to Freedom House. So it creates a paradox. How do we make sure that we can resist such attacks while deepening our commitment to freedom of expression? And the answer really is about competence. In 2019, we switched our curriculum from the old one, which is about media literacy, data literacy, and so on, into competence. Because literacy is when you consume, maybe with critical thinking. But competence is when you have the social dialogue, when you build the civic muscles, when you do the pre-bunking. 2 years ago, I deepfaked myself as an educational material so that people can have a conversation about deepfakes long before deepfakes becoming really convincing. And so the idea of pre-bunking and building civic muscles mean that according to the ICCS, the International Civics and Citizenship Standard Study, the Taiwanese 15 years olds are top of the world when it feels like they can actually change the agenda of politics. When they sign on a e-petition saying that they have to go to school 1 hour later because 1 hour more sleep is actually better than 1 more hour study when it comes to grade, they actually got it. We actually closed the loop. And so making sure that in education systems, even before they turn 18, we engage them in collaborative fact-checking, in fact-finding, so that instead of the individually checked facts, it is a journey of discovering those facts together. That inoculates a young mind. Whenever they see something that is polarizing, they instinctively think about the uncommon ground that can build from those conflicts into co-creation. And so even though we did face a lot of those polarization attacks and so on during our 2024 January election, it actually backfired. People already saw it coming. They have already discussed that in the classes. They have the collaborative fact-checking system to tune to, and also a language model that is tuned by those collaborative fact-checking, so it can detect those polarization attacks and offer rapid response much quicker than any human fact-checkers.
That was the first time I ever heard somebody say, I actually deep-faked myself. I fear that might become a thing now. But you just mentioned how trust and education could defend democracy. I want to go back, President-elect, to the idea of promoting democracy. You rightfully said these tools in the wrong hands are, by design, extremely harmful. These tools in the right hands could be very effective. How do you use them in your fight for democracy in your home country?
I have to say that most of our IT specialists that are fighting for democracy now, they are just people who in 2020 were terrorized by Belarusian regime and had to flee the country and continue to fight from mostly from abroad. But they're making everything possible, you know, to put pressure on the regime through digital instruments. And let's take, for example, hacking the system. Like we have cyber partisans, you know, who are using their skills to hack different state systems to get information. It's not nice to hack systems, honestly speaking, but when we need to show to the world how regime, for example, circumventing sanctions that are imposed on this regime, how they are militarizing our economy and help Russian army to invade Ukraine and to kill Ukrainians, how they terrorize people. You know, we need to collect this information from hacked websites, you know, and different systems to provide this information to our partners, you know, to Ukraine and to find those criminals who are committing all those crimes. So this instrument in good hands is serving to democratic values and to help to restore justice. Or I have already talked about this facial recognition system that regime also using to punish people. We are using this system to verify and to detect actually regime enforcers or police agents or also perpetrators and criminals who are committing crimes against Belarusian people. The same instrument in different hands. Also, we live in dictatorship where all the elections usually falsified. And in our situation, when political desert, you know, where political opponents in prison or in exile, where no free media declared as extremists, and you know, people are afraid, you know, to use it, still using, still watching, but it's really scary. You have pocket parliament of dictator. You know, you can't participate, any person can't participate in so-called elections because immediately, if you are not loyal to the regime, you will be in prison. What our wonderful Belarusians invented? They made AI candidates, you know, to participate in so-called elections. So, you know, if regime, you know, would call AI candidates as terrorists or extremists, you know, it would be funny, you know. But people are not scared to ask questions, you know, to this AI candidate, you know. And of course, you know, our specialists put all the necessary data into this AI candidate, you know, how Belarus should look like after dictatorship, what instruments we are using, you know, how we are fighting against dictatorship, that we are a pro-European country, you know, how we are supporting Ukraine, so on and so forth. And people are not afraid to ask questions, you know, to this, you know, personality. And it was accepted very, you know, positive among Belarusians. You know, you can't punish AI candidate, you know, from the side of the regime. So it was very interesting experiment. And now we're thinking what else, you know, we can do to challenge dictatorship. Or, for example, we created application. You know, it is called New Belarus, where all public discussions are taking place, where people promote their initiatives, you know, where people fundraising, you know, to support political prisoners or our veterans, you know, who participated in the war shoulder to shoulder with the Ukrainians, of course. So we are inventive. We have to be creative. You know, we are not like conventional situation, because you can promote, you can use AI in democracies already, and we have having very limited capacity. You know, have to use all the possible instruments to fight with dictatorship, to fight with Russian Empire, and to support and secure Belarusian people.
Ambassador Tang, I'm sure hearing about democracy as a platform, about using platforms for democracy, rang a bell to your ear, because it is also the Taiwanese model. How could we use AI to sort of further this exercise? How could AI empower democracies? Is it social listening in the right sense of the word? Is it agenda setting? Is it direct lawmaking? What can we put in the hands of the citizens to make our democracies, which seem a bit tired? There's a democratic fatigue throughout these countries. How could we use that technology to reinvigorate, that's a very hard word to say when you're French, to rejuvenize democracy itself?
That's a great question. So 10 years ago in 2014, the Taiwanese government was having an approval rate of 9%. So a country of 24 million people, anything the president says, 20 million people against him. So not a great situation. And then what we have found is that it is the people who, well, peacefully occupied the parliament for 3 weeks during the Sunflower Movement, who were on the demand side. They were protesters, but then with facilitated conversation, with these ideas of broad listening, not just broadcasting one demand to millions of people, but rather with 500,000 people on the street and many more online, broadly listen what exactly do they want together. And that moved the protesting energy into the demonstration energy, moving from the demand side to the supply side to policy making. And so something magical happened when you actually listen carefully across the diversity, and then every day just say, here are the 1 or 2 things that are uncommon, but actually people agreed on it, the uncommon ground. Then that is a bridging effect. The next day, people feel, oh, actually, even though we have different ideology, we managed to agree on 1 or 2 very concrete measures. Then after 3 weeks, we managed to agree on a set of very coherent bundle, and the Speaker of the Parliament at the time simply said, okay, the people have a point, let's just adopt it. So it's one of the very rare Occupy that converged rather than diverged over time. And so we then implemented broad listening tools such as Polis that are open source, that replicates this process online. So for each and every issue, it could be like Uber ride sharing, it could be like stopping, scams and fake advertisement on social media. Throughout the 10 years, we systematically applied those tools so that people just answer one very simple question, how do you feel? And then resonate or not with other people's feelings. There's no reply button, so no room for trolls to grow. And then you see your avatar among the people who feel like you, but also see the unlikely consensus, the uncommon ground that bridges the different groups across each other. And so after a few weeks, again and again, we have seen that people agree on some very common sense ideas that then we turn into law. So already by 2020, the approval rate, the trust in our democratic institution is back at more than 70%.
So it's about listening. When every answer is an applause answer, we're having a good moment. It's about listening, it's about bringing people together, it's about bridging those gaps. And that's a fantastic example. But if we're being really honest, the default path of AI is not democracy, right? It is concentration rather than deliberation, it's opacity rather than transparency. Everywhere in the world, there are initiatives like the one you mentioned that have put forward agendas, that have ideas, that have projects, and actually Make.org and its partner at the World Alliance for AI and Democracy have mapped over 100 of those initiatives. The problem is, how do we convert them? The problem is, how do we make sure these voices are heard and not just big tech? So if civil societies everywhere have questions and demand, President Robke, what is, in your opinion, the right forum and the right place for them to really have an impact? We've been to talking shops before. We've heard the demands. How do we make them real? How do we have an impact?
Well, it could be easy, and I could reply that the ESC, as the voice of organized civil society, we are this facilitator. But it's not so easy. It's not so easy. I think it is of utmost importance when we speak about new developments, new technologies, transformative societal transformation, that organized civil society and citizens join forces. I think a vibrant civil society is really the precondition. And we have this civil society within our house. But today, we have also to adapt our working methods as ESC. We have to join forces. We have to build alliances. And therefore, at least I try also to transform our committee in an inclusive platform, in an open platform, which is open for alliances. And I think Make.org is one of the best examples, because we joined forces before the European elections. And now we can see we can work on artificial intelligence, on many other initiatives. So I think this combination of free and vibrant civil society, social partners, and well-informed citizens, this is, from my point of view, is the best way. And once again, I appreciate very much the work of Make.org and also the partners to map like-minded initiatives, and we want to be part of it. So this is the precondition, but we also have to acknowledge that we need a framework. We need a framework, and if we look into the regulation, and you were speaking about the world of work, for example, we have to look into the fragmented regulation that we have in some countries, and we have to see how can we bring all of them to the same level. And yeah, if necessary, we need also regulation for this at European level. We are absolutely willing to contribute to this, but once again, I think the alliance is important. Really, to join forces between organized civil society, institutions like ours, with all the civil society organizations and citizens outside. This makes really our voice heard.
Alliances, regulations. Okay. It can become a thing, you know. Alliances, regulations, but also tools, maybe, and platforms. The problem is that the code is never neutral. AI design is a key issue. Ms. Tang, you are also a free software developer. You've done that for several years. You just mentioned how platforms can become pro-social, and that's a term we're not used to hearing. So what types of design can we implement to make AI platforms more pro-social, more about finding uncommon grounds, as you rightfully said, rather than weaponizing already existing divides?
Thank you. Yes, I think for people who have not tried Polis before, there is something similar to it called community notes. It was called Birdwatch when X was still called Twitter, but the idea is that you join on this platform as kind of a jury, and then you see a trending post and you see something missing, maybe missing context, maybe missing clarification, and anybody can attach a note to a trending post, and then people start voting on it. Again, people upvote, downvote, but only the community notes that receive the upvotes from the left wing and the right wing, who don't actually usually agree on the same thing together, only the upwing votes get to be the note that gets attached as community notes. So that is, again, the idea of finding the uncommon ground. Now, imagine, instead of just posting this after the fact, what if the main post itself, it is ranked this way? What if, instead of advertisers seeing people's cohorts, behaviors, and so on, doing precision advertisements that strip mines our social fabric and leave us with individualized experiences that isolates us, what if we can flip this around and see how each post, each piece of content can bridge the differences across all our communities? Many people, like me, have different communities in the spiritual, professional, family, and so on, different realms, and they don't often talk to each other. So what about a way to do kind of advertisement that creates those common experiences? So that is called pro-social media, and we're now already experiencing this kind of pro-social media with some pilot partners like We.Are8 and soon hopefully Blue Sky and many other things. And the great thing with open source is that once we have built bridges, for example, on Blue Sky on the one side, we can build bridges, for example, on Truth Social, which is also open source, on the other side. And there now creates possibilities with the Project Liberty Institute to invest in the fundamental infrastructure that builds those bridges. Instead of burning down bridges, instead of polarizing people, we can see the bridges that brings those people together.
Human to human rather than... You would have thought I would have understood by now and leave you enough time to do that each time, sorry. It means it's human-human rather than human to platform. It's communication rather than engagement. So it's coding, and coding is key. This you've just told us. But President-elect, you've just told us about your cyber partisan, about how the web itself and AI is a front line for democracy within Europe, just at arm's reach. You have in front of you a room of innovators, of researchers, of people who are in this field. How can we help? What do you need? How can we make sure that, as you rightfully said, the proper tools get to the right hands, the hands fighting for democracy, and not in the wrong hands, the hands fighting for oppression, to suppress democracy, and to actually stop democracy being an operating system? What can we do?
You know, first of all, I think that in fight against dictatorship for democracy, we need all the stakeholders on board. I want the leaders of all tech companies, digital initiatives to decide on which side you are. If you are on the side of good, if you want to protect democracy, work for democracy, so prevent dictators from using your tools. I know that you can find solution how to do this. It's not only about AI, but also about different social platforms. We must make sure that KGB, these awful people, regimes agents don't have access to the tools you provide. Ban content of the regime on your platforms. You know, if internet now is the only free space for Belarus, and Belarusian democratic forces, free media, we are using, for example, YouTube to spread the truth, to promote reality, to promote democracy and values. And dictators, when they catch person or kidnap person, they record confessional video with this person and broadcast it all over Belarus to keep people in fear. So we have to block such content where they're abusing, where they're humiliating Belarusians. So you can do this. Also, we need tools to help people bypass digital repressions and hide their identity. So we need such instruments, to like VPNs or fact-checking systems, tools to secure communication, help people to stay safe in dictatorship. Fourth, look, I'm here on behalf of Belarusian people. I want to protect Belarusian national identity and promote it. So help us to make Belarusian language more recognizable and rediscover Belarusian language for the world. So help us to promote Belarusian national identity. Like, for example, Wikipedia. They changed name of my country from Belarus to Belarus. It's very symbolic and very important for us for not to be associated with Russia. We are Belarus, Belarusian people, not white Russians. So, and also what we need is to, if you have possibility, if you are investors or giants like Google, Amazon, or Microsoft, provide grants for civil and social projects. We have to provide training in AI areas for civil society. As I said, it's so, you are moving so fast. We need to educate people, how to learn what is AI, how to work with this, how to work and use it. So we will be grateful if you come to Belarusian civil society and help us with this instrument for the sake of democratic values.
I have two very brief questions before we move on to the next item. The first one is, President-elect, you just mentioned how tools are very important, meaning where they're designed and which companies are creating them makes a difference. President Robke, let's talk about having EU AI champions. What does it take? I know the ESC has worked on this issue. Where is our distinctive value in, and how can we use it to effectively fund these champions?
Well, first of all, the AI doesn't come value neutral to us. I think this is the first thing we should bear in mind. And the second point is we're also working on a study at the moment, and we see that we have a lot of strength in Europe when it comes to research, for example. But I think we have to combine both. We have to combine both innovation and governance. Because innovation is important and we need also EU champions. I'm sure we need EU champions. We need our rules. And I said this is the challenge, that we combine all the opportunities of artificial intelligence with our values. They have to stick to our values if they come from outside the EU or from the EU. And here we are convinced that we need also EU champions, that we have to invest in this much more than we did before, and that these EU champions should really represent AI made in Europe. and they should really serve democracy and our values. And once again, I appreciate very much your work, Svetlana, and I think we should all bear in mind this, that it's not value neutral. No, AI has to serve the interest of citizens, also of working people, and of democracy in the end. And like this, we can also defend our European model, and I think this should be in the core of everything we discuss here. Thank you.
I hear the moral call to it, and I hear your call to action, and of course, there's a moral aspect to all of this, of not doing evil with the great tools that we bear in mind. But just to play devil's advocate here, and that will be my last question for you, Ambassador Tang. What's in it for the people who are developing AI? Why should they really, really care about making AI a strength of democracy and not just a tool they can use? Because in the field of AI, it seems that those who actually are in front now are using sheer might, China, or sheer money, that is the United States. The moral imperative there seems to be lost. So why should the people in this room actually care about making AI a democratic tool?
Well, first of all, I do believe that people who show up here already cares. It is not like every day that we talk about AI and democracy with each other instead of against each other. And so I do believe that, as also an AI developer and researcher myself, it is most researchers' hope to make sure that we make a tool that aligns the tool to humanity's needs instead of forcing humanity to align to the tool's logic. However, the development so far has a competitive nature, and it used to be that you need like millions, if not billions, of dollars in order to make contributions on alignment, on safety, and things like that. But that has changed. With the AI Action Summit and the launch of the ROOST, the Robust and Open Online Safety Tools, we're now seeing, instead of just a vertical race to power, we're also seeing a horizontal race to safety. And this race to safety is done in an open way. Anybody with some CPU, not even GPU, can now work with this narrow distilled models. Because they're narrow, they're not going to develop like self-preservation interest or things like that. They're going to be safer. And when we re-narrow it to specific tasks, then we can all work on making it more transparent, more explainable, and at the end of the day, to develop this egoless architecture so that this architecture, when adopted by those people who are racing to the top and maybe summoning something from Stargate, we summon a egoless Buddha instead of something else. Thank you.
We are now at the crossroads, and that you rightfully said, this is a choice we must face collectively. President-elect Tsikhanouskaya, President Robke, Ambassador Tang, thank you very much for showing us that there is a way for an AI-powered democratic system. Thank you very much. And in this dual race, don't get up just yet, we're not done, the best might be yet to come. Because in this dual race that we just witnessed, the EU might be best positioned to win them both. So it's now my privilege to welcome the Executive Vice President of the European Commission for Tech Sovereignty, Security and Democracy, Ms. Henna Virkkunen.
Yes, thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure to be here tonight and use closing remarks of this, I think, a very important and interesting event. And the topics you have been discussing tonight, digitalization, AI, technology, security, democracy, we know that they are very much interlinked today. So my title is Executive Vice President for Technological Sovereignty, Security and Democracy. And we can see that all these themes, they are very much interlinked nowadays world. So technology can be used to have better security and democracy, but we know that they can be also used against our security and democracy. In the European Union, we want to have a digital environment that is safe and fair and democratic. And our digital rules, they are based to these principles, that we want to have very much same rules in online world that we have already in offline world. Of course, this is not always so easy because of technologies and digitalization. Many processes that didn't exist in our offline world are now possible. But that is anyway the principle we have tried to follow, that we want to have same rules also in digital world, and we want to make sure that our values are also respected. We are also expecting that in the coming years, AI will change very much our societies and the way how we are working, also our economies, and it's important that we are also preparing for that. Some people say that in a few years' time, AI can do everything better way than we as human beings. And of course, if this happens, it means that everything will change in our economies and societies, and that's why we have to also be prepared for that. What does it mean? When it comes to digital rules, in the European Union, we have taken very risk-based approach here. So it comes also to our online platforms, which are having very important role in our, they have a lot of power, as we see, in our economies and also in our democracies. So there we have also have a rule that everybody in internet world, all the internet operators who are doing business in internet, they have certain rules, but those who has more power, very large online platforms, they have also more obligations because they are also posing more risks for us, our societies. So according our Digital Service Act in the European Union, very large online platforms, they have to, all the time, they have to assess and mitigate the systematic risks they are posing, for example, for our democracies, for our electoral processes, for our civic discourse, for the people's well-being. And that is a process they have to themselves do all the time. So we have rules that they have to have certain processes on place, how they are assessing and mitigating the risks they are posing with their services. Also, they are obliged to have transparency in their services, that also the users, they can see, for example, why certain content is shown for them, and the users has to have also possibilities themselves to choose. So we are currently enforcing these rules on very large online platforms, and we are doing it in different manners. We have opened formal proceedings and investigations against, we can say most of the big online platforms, but all the time we are also preparing guidelines, for example, guidelines on electoral processes, how the online platforms should mitigate and assess the systematic risks during the electoral campaigns, how they should protect the minors. We are currently preparing those guidelines. We have also worked with online platforms on code of hate speech, and all the big online platforms, they were signing this code of conduct against hate speech. So all of them are committed to fight against hate speech in the European Union. And now we are also working with the code of conduct on disinformation. So we are working in several fields with the online platforms. And also with AI, we have very similar approach, we can say a risk-based approach. So we have different categories, and now we are currently starting to implement also our AI Act. And there we have also looked at some of the user cases. There is so high risks that we have banned them in Europe. And these prohibitions, they entered into force now in February. So for example, the people's social scoring, it's banned in the European Union. Or it's not also allowed to monitor people's emotions in the workplaces. Or it's not allowed also to use face recognition on the streets if there is not certain threat. So we have some user cases that we have totally prohibited in the European Union. But then most of the user cases in AI, there is no risk, and you can very freely, of course, innovate. But then when there is that kind of applications, for example, what you are using on hospitals or in transportation, those applications, they have to meet certain standards before they are entering to the markets. Research you can do freely. in the European Union in all the fields, but when you have a product which is coming to the markets before it's coming to the markets, and if there is a high risk, then it has to meet certain standards. So there we want to also have a risk-based approach to make sure also that we can have trustworthy digital environment. Same rules than we have had now all the time to make sure that we have privacy, safety, we have fair environment and also democracy when it comes to our digital world. It was asked here in the panel that is it possible or how to make also European champions in AI. And I think here we have to build to our own strengths. So we already heard that we have very strong values here and very strong democracies in the European Union. But in the same time, we have also very strong research community and very high level of scientists in European Union. And I think this is certainly one strength we have. In fact, we have, for example, 30% more AI researchers than USA is having per capita. So very, very strong part of our economy is this knowledge we have. But many of our researchers and also our startups, we have thousands of startups who are working with AI in the European Union. Only in France, about 1,000. So it tells that the amount is very, very high in the European Union. But many of the startups and also researchers, they are lacking access to computing capacity, because as we know, when you're training AI, you need to have very, very powerful computing capacity. And that's why in the European Union, we are currently now investing to our supercomputers, to our high-performance supercomputers, to build up their computing capacity. In 1 year time, we will have 5 times more computing capacity in our supercomputers than today, and we will open this computing capacity for our startups and researchers that they can train AI. And we have also, one of our strengths is also that we have very strong industry in the European Union, but only 13% of our industries is using AI. So the next step will be that we have to bring together our industries, our SMEs and startups and researchers who are training AI, and also our public sector, because there we have also a lot of opportunities to use AI. So we want to be in this competition, and I think we are also very strong in the European Union because we have already rules in place. So it's giving also legal certainty for the innovators and investors. And in the same time, we are also very committed that we will implement these rules in a very innovation-friendly manner. So we are very much supporting our SMEs, also our industry. Currently, we are also working with the Code of Practice guidelines when it comes to AI, together with our stakeholders, really to also help and support them when they are applying AI and also innovating in this area. So I'm sure that Europe can be very successful also in AI when we are building to our own strengths and when we are keeping our own values and when we are making sure that people have high level of privacy and safety and democracy and a fair environment also when it comes to AI. But then as a last point, I want to also come back more to democracy, because we can also say in the European Union that our democracies are very much under attack now. And that's why we have decided that we will propose a project called the Democracy Shield from the European Commission side, and also European Parliament has just also established a committee, special committee to that, also to really develop the ideas of Democracy Shield. And especially the fields to where we will focus, one of the most important fields, of course, it's electoral processes. As we have to make sure that the integrity of the electoral processes is respected in the European Union member states, and we have to also support the countries which are near European Union, because we have seen that many of them are also under attack when it comes to electoral processes. So we have to make sure that we have free and fair elections, and we have to stop foreign interference when it comes to elections. Here also the technologies and online platforms, they are playing important role, because it can be, and it is, important channel for citizens also to reach the political parties and also the candidates, and same to other directions. So it's also important channel for politicians and political parties also to be in contact to the voters and citizens. But in the same time, we have to make sure that online platforms are not misused or manipulated, and that's why we are now working very closely with the online platforms to make sure that they are taking their responsibilities here, and they are assessing and mitigating the risks they are posing during the electoral campaigns. So elections will be one of the most important priority when we speak about democracies, because if the people lose their trust to democratic processes or to elections, then it's very harmful for the whole society, and it can be very dangerous. And the second important part will be the media freedom, because it's very important that we have independent free media, that the people can get really the information what is needed in society, that they are not only dependent on social media, for example, when it comes to news. So media freedom is something to where we are focusing, and there we have also Media Freedom Act, what we are going to implement it now. But then the third very important part, and I'm very willing to stop with that, because I think it's always the most important thing, that we have to all the time when we are developing technologies and investing to new digital tools, we have to invest to people. So I think it's always our most important asset we have. The knowledge of people, so we have to invest to education of people. We have to make sure that everybody is having digital skills, because nowadays world is really needed. You need to have also tools yourself, how to work in digital world, how to analyze, and also be critical about the information you see, because if you don't have good education, if you don't have literacy, if you don't have digital skills, it's very easy to spread different kind of misinformation, propaganda and disinformation for you. So I think it's the most important thing we have to do. We have to build up the resilience of our societies and really build up the capacity and knowledge of our citizens. It's our most important strength when we speak about democracy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Vice President. Indeed, democracy can fight back.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for following us this evening. I think if we all act now, we could use AI to rejuvenate democracies. And Make.org, along with the Worldwide Alliance for AI and Democracy, have a proposal to do just that.
And you can actually all be part of that. And to actually just tell you how you can be a strength for democracy, we are about to leave the floor to the founders of Make.org, Alicia Combat et Axel Docher.
So I'm sure you're thirsty, you are hungry.
We are.
I'm sure, okay? You want to dance? So let's be quick.
Yeah.
First of all, a big, big thank you to the speakers we had, and also...
Thank you.
Thank you. Big thank you to the partners, because, you know, it's very hard for a company to become partners to such a sensitive topic. So thank you very much to École normale, supérieure, La Poste, Docaposte, KPMG, but also Capgemini and BNP Paribas, also Adobe and Soprasteria. And to name a few, the content partner who help us to building all the content of this party, it's HSA University, Aspen Digital, Bertelsmann, the Cinem. And I want to end by thank you, the Make.org team who worked like hell for this party tonight.
Thank you, the team.
I have 3 Christmas wish and 1 certainty. First Christmas wish, after having listened everyone, is we need an urgent protection of our free will of citizens and free will of companies, whether they are in democracy, but also, if we can, whether they are in a dictatorship. Second, we need AI, human-centric, and for the interest and the benefit of citizens, not only on power interest. Third, we need fair competition. Any researcher, any startups must have the same chance to benefit from AI, whatever the country you need to become from. And I have one certainty, is that's possible with massive collaboration. Massive collaboration of all the actors of the civil society, the one that I mentioned, were mentioned very much tonight.
Yeah.
You know, NGOs, innovators, researchers, companies, institutions, foundations, and also public institutions. This is the only counterpower which is at scale of what the challenge we have to deal with. The second thing is massive collaboration of all those institutions with citizens. This is why we funded the company 8 years ago with Alicia, and definitely that's the only way to build a bit of a real common sense, if you know what I mean, in the world of AI.
Thank you, Axel. And as I said in my introduction, revolutions, they don't happen overnight. But there are pivotal moments that define the future, and to make this evening and the weeks and months ahead a positive turning point, we are launching tonight an unprecedented alliance between all of you. So it's between those of you who are building AI, those of you who are the representatives of democracy. So whether you are social science researchers, whether you are data science researchers, whether you are AI innovators, corporations, democratic activists, NGOs, or public institutions, join this alliance and sign our manifesto. There are QR codes everywhere in these events. We invite you to forge together a lasting cooperation.
So it's very simple. When you will get out of the auditorium, you will see 40 makers, people from Make.org, that will help you signing the manifesto, which is the first level of not commitment, but also of showing you are sensitive to the topic. Based on that, we'll come back to you if you want, and then see whether you want to join the Global Alliance AI and Democracy, because this collaboration is, again, the only counterpower. And at last, there is also many ways of getting much more practically into the collaboration. If you are AI researchers, there are people that can talk to you about that, but also if you are companies or public institutions. As Audrey said, this collaboration with your audience is changing radically the things. It's not a gadget, it's the solution. So we count on you. And now it's time for the cocktail dinner. So you are very happy. So just after the manifesto, you can go, even if you don't sign the manifesto, to the cocktail dinner. And if you're online, stay tuned because the show is going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bien fait, t'as fait. Je peux pas.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. If you're watching us online, please be with us for a few more minutes as we have just finished the conference here this evening. There's been about 1,000 people in this room. It's been very, very exciting. And I have somebody with me right now, Edouard from Artefact. Edouard, I'd just like to get a few sort of impressions, what you thought about the conference and what were the challenging ideas that came out for you.
it's a fantastic conference. So first, big congrats to all the teams. I think the very fact that this group, diverse group of people was brought together to speak a common language. When you talk about AI, talk about all these topic terms, it's new topics, it's new themes. Just being able to speak a common language with people like who are active players in the system, that's great. The second, for me, the big takeaway is we tend to oppose these two terms, always. It's AI is against democracies. And there were so many good, tangible examples of things where AI could actually, it's a new link between power and the people. And AI can be used in a trustworthy way. And it's a disruptive idea. That's why it was brilliant to organize this event.
Wonderful, and it's not very regular that we will talk about AI and democracy in that prism as well. Is that something you've ever seen before? Has it happened before in your, in your world?
So it's always a taboo, I'll be honest. These two topics brought together, I haven't seen it before up to now. It was like dropped here and there in like side discussions, but never a dedicated event. So that makes a big difference. And then the panelists were able to bring some tangible ideas, like just having a minimal frame, not like regulation on everything, but just a minimal frame on basics that needs to be respected. Like these little things can make a big difference, I think.
That was Frederick Worms, I think, from the École normale, supérieure, en effet, who was on my panel this evening. So many great ideas have come out of this discussion together. There's a manifesto. I guess you're signing the manifesto as well?
I will definitely sign it.
First of all, go and get a cocktail. You can have a little moment for yourself and enjoy.
And great job to all the team.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Can you just tell everybody who you are and where you're from?
So I'm from Artifact, data and AI specialist, and leading all our by industries across the company. So cool. Very happy to meet you.
Thank you so much for being with us this evening, and have a great night. I'm going to continue discussing with people. I'll let you head off. Who can I speak to next? Wonderful. Oliver, nice to see you. We saw you on stage a couple of minutes ago. How are you feeling? How was this conference this evening for you? What did you take away from it?
Honestly, it was very encouraging. As always with Make.org, you can really see that they bring people together, citizens and civil society, business, trade unions. It was really encouraging. And I think we have a positive spirit of AI that we take. That's my takeaway, actually. Positive spirit. We can make sure that we will have an AI that should comply with our values, that should serve our values, our democratic and social values. So I'm quite optimistic.
The glass is half full, shall we say. I mean, there's a lot of people here this evening who said to me, I haven't really heard of, this kind of debate which sort of puts AI and democracy in that kind of prism on its own. I mean, we talk a lot about solutions, we debate, but we never talk about AI and democracy. We need to have more of these discussions.
Definitely. If we look around within Europe and around Europe, we see polarization, mistrust, less trust in institutions. So I think that makes it really necessary to have a framework, of trust and of smart regulation for these new technologies like AI, because AI is not only a new technology, it's really a societal transformation. And it needs that we prepare our society and we drive it in the right way. So I think let's discuss the right framework, and if necessary, also let's bridge the gaps and let's make a smart regulation that artificial intelligence will serve the people, and also in the world of labor will serve the workers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering my questions, and have a cocktail, a wonderful evening, dancing. There's lots of great things going on, and mingling and getting to know everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you. Good night. Is anybody else willing to talk to me? You're my next victim, and could you introduce yourself to everybody that's watching us this evening? The camera is here, just here.
Yes. Hello, my name is Martin Hallen. I'm the Director for Digitization and the Public Good at the Bertelsmann Foundation, which is a paradox in today's time, but not at this event.
That's right. Can you tell us what you would consider to be your major takeaway from this event this evening? What struck you as really important for those that are watching us tonight?
I think the sense of urgency, and also that we cannot do this by ourselves, but we have to not only think this European, but we have to think this through the type of allies that resonate with the notion of plurality having had Audrey Tang here, of course, from Taiwan and the experiment there, but we are no longer in the majority. When you look at non-autocratic countries that also align with certain set of values and also people-centrism, and we need to be aware that the forces that we are now have to act against are very strong and have unprecedented power concentration. And to do so, we need to be smart, we need to be fast, subversive as well, and we need to dare to look below kind of the surface of what AI actually is. Because the narrative around AI is captured by the big tech companies currently. But once you look under the surface of what are the building blocks that enable responsible AI, the ID systems, the cross-border data kind of, spaces that are necessary to train heterogeneous AI, there suddenly you see opportunities. Because we are super heterogeneous. Democracy is about plurality, but guess what? If we train AI models based on heterogeneous data, suddenly it's more competitive compared to the very kind of, crude scraping of information that build the current big foundational models. So we need to be smart about this, but we also need to throw funding at this, and we need to also create a narrative that is visionary as a big project. And that's also why it was great to have, of course, Vice President Virkkunen there. But I think there's plenty still to work on to make these things really like our Apollo mission.
Yes, of course. There's a lot of things that we need to, take away this evening and develop and together as well, because this is such a great opportunity as we were all together, all the stakeholders this evening, working and sort of talking on the same page. So fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us, and have a great evening. There's a party, apparently.
Yeah, I heard something. Yeah, let's go there.
I will be there in a little while, but first I'm going to interview a few of our partners who are with us this evening. Thank you so much. I'll let you head off. You too. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now proceed with a few interviews on one-to-one with our different partners that are here with us this evening. So I will see you in just a couple of seconds. You're going to have to move, Mr. Cameraman, over this way, and I will go up the stairs. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to welcome Frédéric Worms, Director of École, normale, supérieure, à venir me rejoindre sur scène. Come and join me. Thank you. So we meet again, dear friend. Great to see you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a great discussion earlier on, and we're going to go a bit deeper into detail and sort of, on the more solution side of things that you are bringing out there in École normale supérieure. I'm going to give you a little bit of inside information. We were discussing this afternoon together, and Frédéric Worms was in a AI discussion, very important AI discussion, 35 years ago.
Absolutely.
I'm not doing that to give your age away at all. But of course, this all started a long, long time ago for you, correct?
That's very funny. I didn't think you would begin with this, but actually, yes. I was still studying at the École. It was my last year, and I was hired by Daniel Andler, who is still a major figure in the epistemology of artificial intelligence. He's written a bestseller, actually, in France recently on artificial intelligence, and they organized the first conference on cognitive science, and he built our department of cognitive science with the Cogmaster, which is well known in our school. And there were two models. One was traditional computing, sequential, A plus B plus C, but at a large scale. And then there was the parallel neural networks, parallel computing. It was called connectionists model, and no one would believe in it. It was science fiction. And it took 35 years, actually, for that to be the artificial intelligence revolution. I was the secretary of this conference, and I still have a little memoir that no one knows about. But
keep hold of it, it's very precious.
It's amazing because it was really, really fascinating and unbelievable, and now it's become worldwide and at the scale of a human revolution.
So now it's a reality, that's for sure, and the discussions were really interesting tonight. I mean, there's lots of things that you are working on, lots of people that you are collaborating with. We discussed that earlier, but I'd like to talk specifically about Capgemini, first of all, because you talked about the observatory that you'd launched together. I'd like to know a little bit more about it, and I think those that are watching us would too.
It's an observatory, it's a global observatory, potentially, I hope it will become, on AI and sustainability, because we need data. So we need independent, reliable data on sustainability of AI, and I think it's a need that's felt by all the actors, the economic actors, the political actors. And as I said earlier, I think this need for science is comforting, of course, because you could deny the effect of AI on climate, you could deny the need of energy, but at a certain level you can't deny anymore. And in your own interest you need data. So it's fascinating for me how we have an independent research program with new researchers that we're able to hire at the crossroads between our computing science major department, of course, with a lot of Fields Medal and Collège de France professors, and also our climate science department and social science department. And we hire new people to build the bridges, to have the research done. And then we will meet with Capgemini, which has also a need, and the research tank. And so it will be two independent worlds coming together on a common objective. I think it's for common good. I think that we will meet the public demand, and I think it's a major collaboration.
Wonderful. I know you cover a wide range of topics, of course, including, you know, they are at the intersection of AI and democratic values, for sure. Maybe we could talk about, there's something you mentioned this afternoon, the Democratic Studies Program, correct? I'm not quite sure what that means.
We just founded at the École normale something really new there, which is a democratic studies program, meaning not the study of democracy as a political science does, or political philosophy, which is my native language, not the principles of democracy, which still have to be studied, of course, and to understand the levels of democracy, the minimal levels, which make human beings able to live together without war or tyranny, and other levels. But democratic studies for us is the way to prove in concrete fields that democracy is practical, is useful, is a tool. So we have professors of practice coming from health, major public servants. Okay. Jean-François Delfrécy, who was the head of the National Ethical Committee and the COVID Science Commission named by the president. We have Laurence Tubiana, who was the chair of the conference on climate in 2015, and she teaches the democratic negotiations on climate. She teaches the way climate obliges the world to be democratic. Even dictatorships, they have to discuss with the others on the goals to attain. That's why some countries quit the alliances, but then that's why it's a way to recognize that they're not talking with the others anymore. But democracy is the only way to save the planet, actually. It comes before any technological or change of way of life. It's a political discussion. The third is Laurent Berger, who is the head of the great labor union in France, and he teaches on democracy in social negotiations. And two others, one working also on the civic conventions, and the other is a former ambassador to the US, French ambassador to the US, studying the democracy as a condition of peace, and with, of course, adversaries, but with a practical value. It's not an abstract theory. I call it a concrete democracy project, and we want to publish a treatise of applied democracy. And it's, of course, useful for AI.
Understood, understood. The AI Summit is happening today, but alongside it, there's also the Student Convention. Just a last quick word on the Student Convention, which is really, really useful, I think.
I think it's one of our two major announcements. Of course, we host official events of the AI and Democracy and AI in Society Summit all day long tomorrow. We will have announcement from public authorities in France. But one major event is this student convention. It's a first step of a global alliance. It will lead to a global convention on AI and ending up at the United Nations organization. But it starts in our school with a set of students discussing AI governance and expressing all they have to express together. And I think it's very new for them, precisely because they know democracy as a principle, but then they have to face opposition, diversity, diverse points of view, and democracy is complex, but we are able to build it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for this exchange,
Thank
Frédéric.
you so
We've had a
much.
great time on stage together this evening.
Thank you for believing in the École as a model of academic institutions. We are very honored.
You're doing wonderful things. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. I'll let Frédéric head off stage. Thank you so much.
Thank
and I'd
you
like
very
to
much.
invite now Olivier Vallée, is head of La Poste's digital subsidiary. Olivier Vallée, come and join me, please. Is Olivier here? Maybe not. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. There's always surprises. I love surprises. I love live moments, of course. Well, let's have Axel de Goursac with me from KPMG. Axel de Goursac, come and join me. Thank you so much. Take a seat, Axel. We meet again, dear friend. Thank you, Axel. We had a great discussion earlier. I know today has been so rich in announcements. Lots of exciting things have happened today. Lots of discussions, of course. Many key figures sharing their perspectives on AI and democracy. From your point of view, what would you like to share as a takeaway from what you've heard?
So, there is so much to say
about
today's event and even the past few days. So what do I keep in mind? Of course, the investment announced by the French president, which is a very good news for the whole ecosystem. Also, the great performance of our AI champions, like Mistral AI. And also, the strong engagement of all stakeholders of AI Summit. And I think this is a good sign. So, of course, there is still a lot to do. But nothing is written yet.
Oh,
and
sure.
So let's not start as losers and let's play our strengths.
Wonderful. From a business point of view now, and I think it's really interesting to ask you this question, what should artificial intelligence look like to truly, really benefit businesses, Axel?
So, yes. We have done a panel, we have interviewed a panel of employees at KPMG, and then we have seen that 44% of employees think that responsible AI also brings performance to the enterprise. And I think that's a great lesson, and this is what we have to push in enterprise. And of course, how can you build trust in AI if it's not performant for your enterprise? And also, how can you have a strong impact on enterprise performance if it's not an AI reliable, if it's not trustworthy, and so if it's poorly adopted? So I think AI trust and AI performance have to be very interconnected.
AI's impact on the workforce is obviously a major concern, and maybe for a lot of people who are watching us today as well. Many professionals wonder if their jobs will still be there in 10 years' time. How can we ensure AI fosters resilience rather than disruption in the workplace? And how can we prevent a growing divide, in a way, between large corporations and mid-sized enterprises, making AI adoption more inclusive and, of course, more democratic, Axel?
Yes, there are several ways to envision the future of business with AI. AI is bringing a competitive advantage, so it is a force for change. And you can apply this force in enterprise without anticipation for humans in the company. So with, I would say, brutal Darwinism. But this could lead exactly at what you say, so a divide or a gap in AI adoptions between large groups and smaller enterprise, but also within workforce, between people who adopt AI, who are trained, and those who are resistant. But there is, so this is a danger, but there is another alternative that we advocate, of course. This is anticipating and simulating what will be the future of business with AI, the future of companies, the future of the different functions. It will permit to people to give visibility on what will happen, also to introduce more rationality to the debate. And finally, it will help people to train and to adapt to this very big transformation.
Great. Thank you very much for these super insights, Axel, and thank you very much for being with us today. I'll let you head back and enjoy the party. See you later. Thank you, Axel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to introduce Sue Young, Head of Artificial Intelligence and IT Innovation at BNP Paribas. Sue Young, come and join me. Hi. Hi. Nice to see you. Take a seat. Thank you very much. Lovely to have you with us this evening. Great to see you. Europe is leading the way today with AI regulation, but some argue that too many restrictions could slow down innovation. Sue, how can we strike maybe the right balance between fostering AI innovation and ensuring it remains aligned with democratic values? This is our subject tonight.
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, as a former financial supervisor, I understand the importance of harmonizing the market practices whilst insulating the consumer from negative behaviors. This is precisely why regulators are for, right? That is important, so I'm getting that right off the bat. In that regard, Europe is leading the way, setting global standards in terms of responsible and ethical development. And for those regulations to work properly, there are a couple of things to remember. You need to make sure that there's legal clarity, so that there's little room for interpretations and little to non-entropies whenever you have to apply the regulations. You need to have to make sure that there's as little as possible conflict between different regulations, which sometimes happen. And third is ensure that in Europe, there's no single market barrier, so that all the European members have similar regulatory landscape. At BNP Paribas, we obviously use AI to drive our operational efficiency, to strengthen our resilience, and to improve our customer experiences. And for that to happen, regulatory clarity is very essential.
Yes, of course it is very essential. Public trust in AI depends on, I think we'll agree on this, transparency and accountability, right? In your sector, how do you ensure that AI systems remain fair and free from bias?
So at BNP Paribas, we prioritize the development of responsible and ethical AI models. For that to happen, there are a couple of things we do. In terms of transparency and explainability, we make sure that we have internal standards that are targeted at AI development, so that we ensure the AI systems we have are easy to understand and easy to explain to our stakeholders, especially the regulators. There's also the topic of fairness and bias mitigations, obviously, and we have guidelines and training programs for target especially at our specialists, experts, but also to all the people who would utilize the tool to ensure that we are correcting as much as possible the social and cultural biases in the data that we utilize.
Okay. A last question about AI and sustainability, sorry. AI development requires vast amount, of course, of data and energy. How can we make AI more sustainable while still ensuring that it supports our societal needs?
This is a very good question. So data, compute power, hence energies are very essential to AI development. I have a very personal conviction that the technological prowess and the minimizing environmental impact go hand in hand, in the sense that it's very important to have the right talent, which can help you minimize the resource consumption when you deploy the same type of models or same type of AI systems. It can be an order of magnitude 10 to 20 times more efficient whenever you have the right expertise to deploy the same models. It is very important to have the right infrastructures and to make sure that you can provide as much as possible sustainable energy to fuel your data centers, for instance, and make sure that you are using data or models that are suited for, which is one of the reasons we partner with Mistral, who has based, among other things, just as DeepSeek, on something called a mixture of experts that makes that for the same size of models, you operate more efficiently.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Sue, for being with us this evening and
for
answering my questions. You can go to the party.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll let you head off stage. And now I'd like to invite, we found Olivier Vallée. Olivier Vallée's with me. Come and join me, Olivier. Great to have you with us. How are you doing? Take a seat. Wonderful. Take a seat, and the microphone is just there. Olivier Vallée, you are head of La Poste's digital subsidiary. How do you go about integrating trust in the AI solutions that you propose, and what key sectors do you operate in?
So Docaposte is really placing the sensitive data at the heart of our strategy. That's why we have decided to be focused on 3 main sectors, so the public sector, the health sectors, as well as the finance sector, where the data are really sensitive. We are able to provide end-to-end services from consulting up to operation. And inside Docaposte, in fact, our expertise is first to master this technology. So we have more than 500 data specialists, data analysts through 2 acquisitions that we did. And we are able also to train, to educate the citizen as well as our customer in order to really explain what is the value of using this AI generative solution.
Wonderful. A word on projects that you're working on and future projects and perspectives at Groupe La Poste. What are your major preoccupations at the moment?
In fact, there are 2 main areas where we believe that AI could really provide some added value services. It's education and health. And maybe just to give you a concrete example, in health sectors, we have developed an application which is named Dalvia. It is the first industrial and using generative AI in a sovereign environment. And in fact, through this application for the hospital, we can help the professional of health to save between 20 to 30 minutes of the time just by doing automatically a kind of patient reports that can be very useful. So it's really an application that are really used, developed, and it's a real success. And it's a really game changer for the health sectors.
Sounds like a huge game changer, yes, of course. A last word, maybe just, there's so much going on here. We've been talking about AI and democracy, which is kind of rare in general to be talking about AI and democracy. It's kind of a bit of a taboo subject. How did you live through the experience this evening? Did you enjoy the conference? Is there any major takeaway?
Frankly, I love this initiative. I think it was really great. And AI and democracy, it's really a key topic for the future. I really believe that it's much more an opportunities than the threats, but obviously we need to be careful and to protect the citizen and the customers.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Olivier, for being with us this evening. I'll let you head back to the party because there's a cocktail going on. Wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's over to Capgemini. And for this, I'm going to invite Simon, ou Simon, parce qu'il est français, Simon Gosset and Maud Pic. Come and join me on stage, please. Simon, Maud, thank you so much. I don't know if I'm speaking English or French. Take a seat. Wonderful to have you both with us this evening. How are you doing?
Louise. We are doing great, I guess.
Wonderful. Alors, Maud, I'm going to start with you because ladies first, of course. Many fear that AI could deepen, of course, inequalities and create an unfair playing field. What governance model or ethical framework should be put in place to ensure AI benefits all citizens rather than the select few?
Our governance model at Capgemini ensure adherence with the AI Act principles. What does that mean? It means putting a human in the loop. It means ensuring a human oversight of AI. And this human intervention is really key because it helps us ensure accountability of our AI solutions. Leveraging our scientific, our technical, our business, but also our regulatory expertise, we are supporting our customer in building trustworthy AI solutions by design. By design, it means that at the very start of each project, we ask them some critical questions. What is the purpose of the model you are currently building? What is it done for? And we help them ensure in the long term that the model will continue to be used in production for the purpose, for the fit it was built for. And this is something really important for us. And in order to help them achieve this, we have developed a reliable AI compliance platform. This platform empowers our customer in really checking, assessing that their AI portfolio is compliant with the regulation, and in defining some guiding principles to make sure that future development will comply with the regulation.
Okay, thank you very much, Maud. Simon, public trust in AI depends on transparency and accountability that we have established, of course. In your sector, how do you ensure that AI systems remain explainable and really free from bias, I guess?
Maybe I will answer on this explainability question.
Sure, go for it.
Explainability is something crucial because it helps understand how a decision is reached, how an AI reaches an output. But there are different levels of explainability. You may wonder for who you are building this explainable system. Do you need to make the system explainable to scientists, to the end users, to citizens, to subject matter experts? What kind of explainability do you want to reach? Do you need every decision to be explainable? Or do you need just a few of them? With those requirements in terms of explainability, you can define the right balance between performance and between explainability. And the right balance, it's not always just taking the solution with the highest accuracy rate. It can be finding a solution with a lower accuracy rate, but that everyone can understand and will understand. And it's really important to define the right compromise between both of these solutions.
Thank you very much, Maud. AI and environment is a big subject as well. Is this a question for Simon, I think, yes?
Yes.
AI development requires obviously a vast amount of data, which consumes an enormous amount of energy as well. How can we go about really making AI more sustainable while ensuring it still serves societal needs?
Yeah, I think we are witnessing with this summit a really interesting momentum right now regarding sustainability on AI. I think the question is why? Why now? Because I mean, AI has been around for decades, but it's happening now. I think it has to do with the current paradigm of AI development, which is the so-called AI scaling law. So allow me a brief detour here, but scaling laws, what it is, it's you raise more money to train bigger models, requiring more compute power, leading to better performance in AI. So it's scaling for sure, but it's not just scaling in terms of performance. It's also scaling in terms of impact on the environment. And what's really interesting is that we released a survey, a paper last week, a couple of weeks ago, and it's exactly what we show. Just a couple of figures from this study to illustrate this point on this trend. For instance, a large language model consumes 5,000 more than a classic NLP algorithm. It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge, really.
That's how fast the tech is happening, in fact.
Okay.
And we explored also another path, another question, which is if we project a 500 Fortune company by 2030, what would be the impact if we keep the current trend? On the impact of their AI portfolio use case would be multiplied by 25. So again, it's huge. So it's really something that we need to be very aware of.
Of course.
This is on the grim side, but on the brighter side...
Give us some bright news, gay news. People.
Exactly. We also explored another path, a bright one, and it's still possible to have a more balanced path for AI. And this is very key results, which is interesting, is that if we combine moderate usage
with real efficiency gains from infrastructure, hardware, with more sober model, we demonstrate that indeed we can have a net zero path that could happen for AI. It's still possible. It's still there.
Encouraging then.
Yeah. So far we've just been discussing on the direct impact of AI, but for sure AI is really impressive for optimizing everything. So of course, AI will have an impact, a positive impact on the world for the ecological transition by optimizing. So we see a lot of very interesting use case at our client side regarding Earth observation, etc. On the usage of AI. Sorry to conclude on this. I think I would like to say there was the École normale, supérieure, so very proud to launch this partnership with
this. Yes, of course.
And I think that's the goal of this observatory that we have launched, to make sure that AI is at the service of the greater good.
Mm-hmm. It was great to hear Frédéric talk about it earlier as well. He gave us quite a lot of information and details. So if you want to catch that, you can also watch the replay and see all of that information later on. Very quick last question, because we're running out of time. Current affairs, obviously. Does Europe's commitment to human-centric AI provide a unique advantage, or is it a limitation in the era that we're living in?
Yeah, so I think, what about Europe with DeepSeek China moment, with the Stargate project? We are wondering if Europe is still on the stage, but I'm still very optimistic about this, and for a couple of reasons. First, I think we have a great AI talent pool. Again, École normale supérieure with there. If you look at the number of field medals they have, we have nothing to be ashamed compared to the US.
We didn't have time to discover all of that, but I spoke to Frédéric Worms on the phone this morning, and the work that they're doing is phenomenal, and there are incredible people working on that.
Absolutely. So I think we have the right talent pool, we have the brains, we have the engineers to build the next generation of state-of-the-art models. And another reason is that our startup ecosystem is there. I mean, Mistral, we've been talking a lot about Mistral, another Capgemini partner. And I think they represent well the path for Europe, which is to develop smaller models, but more focused on with a smaller impact at the end. And I think that's Europe's strategy, I think. And maybe the last one is that we have this regularity framework, which is often criticized, but I think we talked a lot about trust.
Yeah,
this evening.
Did. It was a key word in this conference this evening.
Exactly, and I think trust, in the end, it has to be supported by some sort of a regulatory framework. And we have it in Europe, so I think it's a strength for sure.
And we'll find the right way to balance it as we go along. I'm pretty sure of that. Well, we've come to the end of our discussion with you guys this evening. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm going to say thank you to all of those watching us this evening. Thanks for following us. It has been an absolutely amazing evening with some incredible speakers on the stage tonight and lots of great partners with us as well. Thanks for following us, and we will see you very soon. Good night.